Hello everyone, Mark Sejan here, and we have an interesting topic today, and this is a student work, and it has asymmetrical sculpting, but the topology is also asymmetrical, and we want to make a symmetrical topology and a clear UV map, relatively clear with UV master, and also transfer all the details to keep the model sculptable in symmetrical mode and in a not symmetrical way. Okay, so it's like a mix and match. Now, symmetrical mesh is quite useful for skinning and other purposes, and for the deformation, the similarities around the limbs, for example, for the head. And this is now maybe a simple sculpt mesh, but it could be good for testing a simple rigging if we want to explore how this figure is moving in the development phase. So here we are with the figure, and let me just see these. There are quite a lot of details. It's really deep, and of course we have no supporting geometry on the other side, so we have to go through that, and it's a work in progress. Okay, good. The overall outline is looking nice and exciting if I watch this. Okay, so now what to do? First of all, let me just duplicate this and choose a different material. You can choose different material here, and Ctrl-Shift-D for the copy. Let me turn this off. And the first thing is we want to make it symmetrical and create a kind of an in-between shape. So that's the keyword, in-between shape. So not as high as this and not as low as this. We'll use Smart Resm for that. So now it has all the subdivision levels. I will walk down in the subdivision levels and geometry and delete the higher subdivisions and give it a go. Smart Resm may not work here because we have no good geometry yet. So let me go with Smart Resm, and there we go. It works. Okay, it works. We should clean up some areas. I will use a lower intensity smoothing, and that's kind of in between. So Smart Resm made this nice. Let me see in comparison how it is relating. Okay, so that's the difference here. We have a mid-range. Great. Okay, let me turn this off. And just to have a little bit of a better view, I will mask this out, invert the mask, and project it onto the model. Okay, so masking is working with projection, don't forget. Let me clear the mask. And now we have a 3D mesh that could be used. Now, I want to subdivide it a couple of times in order to have a cleaner polygon flow. So Ctrl D and Ctrl D. And it seems to be a little bit odd to have these subdivisions and do it this way, but since these areas are really jaggy, so let me explain this. Let me go and walk down. So these areas are fairly jaggy. If we have a little bit of a better polygon count, it will work in a cleaner way. Now I will not keep it this way. We can go and use Decimation Master to keep the shapes true, but reduce the unwanted polygons. So I'll pre-process current. And 20%, it should be just fine. So now it has the smaller amount of polygons, where smaller size polygons where we need it, and we can save a lot of time. Okay, so we will go from here. Now we definitely need ZBrush, but because we also want to create a polygon groups and a structure that's a little bit closer to an animation topology. We want to cut this up. So I'm hold Ctrl Shift, slice curve, and we don't care about symmetry now because it's not a symmetrical operation. So maybe I will use select lasso and make a selection like this, and using the slice curve. So I'm looking for a right angle to cut this through, and yeah, that will be it. This will be it. Okay, so cut. It's just was a double simple alt, and good. Okay, now it happens all the time. If you see this, it cuts through even if you're not in perspective. So let me turn off the line. Here we go. This is this line button. Let me turn it off and simply switch back to select mode. Click on this, invert selection, invert and hide it, and invert and Ctrl W. So now this is good. Let's work on the head, and using the slice curve. Now if I'm walking down, it will, that gray area what you see on the other side of the line, the cutting line, that shows it will create a new polygroup for that part. Now that is usually causing errors. So what we can do is, if we go to the side, and for example I want to create a new polygroup for the head, I'm holding this and make sure that the shadow along the line is there, and that way the rest is not disturbed. Okay, so this is one thing we can do, and I'm Ctrl W to assign a different polygon group color. And as I see, I will still not make it perfect, so I have to hide it away, invert, and Ctrl W and recut this. And of course there is this patch. We don't care, again, it will be symmetrical. Okay, so here is this nice piece. It's isolated through selection, so we can just go through and cut this leg off. Okay, I see this angle will be better. So now just make sure only those are visible. And using the slice curve and cut through here. Let me see if it's, I should go a little bit higher. The angle was okay. The angle was okay. I just want to go a little bit higher. That's nice. Okay. So see if there is any errors. Going back, select rect, and see what's happening. Perfect. Okay. Now make it symmetrical. So geometry and modify topology and mirror and weld. I have also here. So that's it. Now it's time to see the actual polygons, and we have the original mesh. We don't care yet about projection. Right now we just want to make the remeshed model. So geometry and zero measure. Now we can keep it at 5, however it's not, again, it's for rigging and testing and even and for sculpting, of course. It's kind of a universal mesh now that quickly created. So I will use keep groups, keeping the smooth groups at this stage at 1, because we will use projection, and we want so in that case there's no forced smoothing of the groups. Once you have a kind of a projected mesh with a lot of stuff, that smooth group can be an issue, but here not, because we are just in the beginning phase, a start of this. I will set it to 2, which one seems to be low, but it's not for this one, and make sure symmetry is now on. Okay, the only reason that I was not caring about symmetry, because this slash tool is not exactly symmetrical. It's not working that way. So let me hit zero measure and see what's going on. Okay, good. Now there are some inconsistencies we can fix, but in general, I do like what I see. It's 9,000 polygon, which one is great. If you have the time to refresh and correct a few things manually, you can do so, because you can always narrow down and collapse a few vertices if you want to save some polygon count. But honestly, I don't think for testing and for rough animation and sculpting is a necessity. However, a few things need to be added, and it's not the luckiest to have it here. However, it's a square, but it will do fine. Okay, maybe let me undo this and give it a try to control paint, use polypaint. I will use 1.2 and paint it here, and see the BPA brush, RGB and skin shade to be able to see, and L, yeah, so, and L, it's a little bit dense here. Okay, that would be fine, and probably here we want some density because there's a lot of details and stuff. Okay, let me see if this changes the whole setup. So ZBrush, and yeah, it's getting better. I'm afraid that these errors are not as good, so we can go with BCT clay tubes and sculptress mode on, and just simply that dot disturbs me, and I assume that creates this odd issue with the ZBrush. So let me just see that ZBrush has now a better opportunity to create a cleaner mesh, and yes, so now you can see those are gone. Okay, make sure that we're turning off the sculptress mode, and BMV, oops, my bad, BMV is my go-to brush when we are just doing editing, or ZModeler, because you cannot really make a big mess with this one usually. Okay, yep. Now, so before projection, what else we should make a few corrections. So BM, so BZ and ZModeler, I have the ZModeler moved into the default brushes. This is why it's coming with the ZModeler topology. By the way, that brushes could be found here. Where are you, brushes? So it's almost the last folder. So this is in the last folder, so you can use this ZModeler topology brush. Right now, what we are looking for is this ZModeler brush, and symmetry is on. And we are looking for edge, so I'm hovering over an edge. Edge is white, pressing spacebar or right click, and this will be not insert, but insert single edge loop. Yeah, that's fine. So insert single edge loop. I will add a few edge loops here and there in order to be able to move this thing in a better way. Okay, that's very nice. Here, I'm not sure that these are required. This is quite a lot. So maybe we can delete those. Delete and edge loop complete. So give it a go. What happens if we delete those? Let me see that. Gonna show that. That's fine. That generates this ugly thing. Yeah, there we go. That's also generating some weirdness. And this one. Okay, that's cleaner now. But because I have created, okay, so that is, yep, the topology is not exactly supporting what we are doing now with the insertion. Okay, so it's not a perfectly circular topology, as I see, and that causes the issue. So as I'm inserting these, it will go through. Okay. In that case, I will leave it because we don't really need those extra stuff. And we can do edit and clean it up, but it's not exactly the thing we are looking for. I will go to try to redo it with a different polygon account, and maybe that helps us to have a different topology now. But no, it's mostly this one. Okay, so in this case, let me go back and just give it a go with the BCT brush and this one, and smooth this thing around and fill it. Fill this. And have it this way. So now it's a little bit jaggy, but we can smooth these grips. No problem. So 1.5 and see how it affects the overall structure. And as you see, that generates a different layout. Okay, so just because we're changing this, it doesn't mean we will not get back to the original sculpting details, but ZBrush reads the model a certain way, and if there's cavities or concave shapes, ZBrush will give you a little bit of different results. If you want to have cleaner, you might want to sculpt this mesh. And now we can go back to the Z model brush, B, Z, and O in this case, and add those. But yeah, switch back to insert and add those. And now we're talking. Now we're talking. So we can add these in order to have a better, better topology. Good. Good. Okay, let's see this one. And adding to the elbow. Make sure that we have some at the knees. Okay, this may bend ugly if we leave it this way. Of course, we want to have, and there we go. What about the ankles or ankle-like things? Yes, we should have a few more here. Yep, the heels are looking fine. Good. Wrists. Maybe one more in the wrist. And for the fingers, we can do it as well. I will slide it here. Slide it here. Slide. Oops, my bad. Slide here. And there we go. And of course, with it's a clean sculpt, so we can clearly see where these joints are, and that's always a good idea. Now QMesh is working with the polygons. So if I'm hovering over and pressing this for the polygon, it's QMesh. So that's for extrusion and other stuff. And there we go. Nice. Okay, so we have the segments, these corrections, mesh is symmetrical, perfect. Okay, so now we want to make the projection before we are creating the UV maps. Because yes, it will be a little bit stretched out. So let me go back to the safety brush. BCT now, because I want to turn off this sculptors mode and want to make this button clickable, because in many cases this one is not clickable if you are using a specific brush. Just keep in mind, always don't leave it on, because by accident you can create quite nasty sculptress injuries on a figure. So we're having these two models. Let me give it back. And right now, right away, I will just symmetry just turn off. We don't, we don't need that, and project all. So this is the base mesh. We're looking for that one. And right now I'm going in solo mode, and you may already know that when you are in solo mode, the projection still works. Projections can still see through this solo mode. So now I'm using the simple smooth brush and do this project again and see if it picks up the details or not. Okay, I see no problem. Now the easiest way, if we are in solo mode, we can switch here, and look for the silhouette. Switch here, that's good. On your back, those will be cool. Okay, so there we are. And what else? I see something, a struggle with this neck part. So there we go. Let me go with project. Yeah, that's picking up a better geometry for sure. Okay, this is where we are heading. Great. So now I will project all again, just make sure everything's fine. If there's a major error, we should know about this right now. Okay, so that's the silhouette. Now we can go and turn our heads to UV master, and we will use polygroups and symmetry. Now symmetry is, it's not document, I haven't seen this, but in experience, the UV master can make a mesh symmetrical where symmetry is possible, but it handles the polygon groups a little bit independently. That means it will create these. Of course, it will not force symmetry on UV maps. So this will be an asymmetrical UV map, but these will be symmetrical when you are creating those. Now polygroups, of course, we want to use polygroups. Well, we want to use control painting as well, because I think the head and the body is quite obvious. It will cut normally, I think, because of the orientations, but I'm really not sure about the arms. Legs may be fine as well, but for the arms, I will definitely want to do that. So attract, it will switch to the brush, Shift F, change the brush size. I have lazy mouse turned off, but by default it is turned on. L is the shortcut for that lazy mouse. Then I will use symmetry and paint this. Wow, this big. Okay, and the only reason I turn off the lazy mouse is because when the lazy mouse is used, the build-up, the strength as you're pushing or painting is not the same. So the build-up is a little bit slower. It's interesting in ZBrush that they are using the strength and the build-up. There's not the same. In the build-up, there's a time factor, and that changes as you're using the lazy mouse. It's not bad, of course. It's good to have it that way, but you need to know about this. So let me go and make sure the tip of the finger is included, because otherwise it can create pockets in the UV. They're not folding as they should be. Not fold open. And another cut in here. And go to the internal outside edge. So when we watch it from the outside, it's not that visible from the side, it's not visible from front, so usually it's something like this. Okay, and hit unwrap and see it's flattened, and there we go. There are a few things that we wish we can go back, but it's not the easiest way to fix. Unflattened. I can give it a try to explore what area, but let me check the seams where those tiny bits are. Somewhere We don't really know. Okay, I will leave it as it is. I'm not expecting to make all the perfect stuff here. Wow, that was not nice. How dare you? So we can attract this part as well, going through. And let me see if it does again. So unwrap and check seams. And it doesn't care. Simply, it cuts through that direction. Okay, let me go back and follow and help this guy to attract. Okay, we can attract at the bottom, attract on the top, and guess what? We try to protect the face. Okay, and unwrap and check seams. Oh no, why you do that? Okay, protect. We want to protect here a lot. And if it's not okay, I will play a different game. I'll use a smoothing brush or BMV. I'm sorry, a BMV. And if you don't want to do what I'm looking for, I'm sorry, but I will help you with this one. So now it's protruding, and let me see what happens. Okay, let me just undo. Let me do this and clear the. I will clear the OV map. That's another thing that's just fairly unusual. So attracts. Here we go with attracts, and see if this solves the issue. I have check seams, and now the seam is good because that was a cavity. So I have made this another trick, and see this in flatten mode. Okay, so now it's working fine, perfect, unflatten. And because we have projection, we don't have to worry about this. We can simply turn off seams and make sure that we are not in solo mode. I will just push this back. Wow. Paint, BMV, yeah. Where's my move brush? So I'm pushing this in, masking it. Oh yeah, mask pen. Invert and project. So project all, and now it's picking up. Okay, so it's not a negative surface anymore, and this is why UV Master can sense it differently, just like we did this tiny modification with ZBrush. And so this is what you need to know about. Okay, it's time to rebuild the structure. So we want to use the ZBrush there. And projection, just projection, so Control D and make a projection. I'm in solo mode, my bad, it's just this Control D is not working because we had the masking. Clear the mask, Control D. If you make that Control D with the mask, you will have no subdivision levels. It will increase the resolution, but there will be no subdivision levels created because of the masking. So, and I'm using project all now. So solo mode is on. This model is visible, so that project is working. So projection, and see if there's any errors or jags or things like that. Weird, unexpected shapes, but I see none. Control D and project all, and here now it's time to fix this. Time to check these. There's a few things. I will smooth this out and use projection again. Give it a go. Or no, I can't do that. The problem will remain. So we have to manually fix it afterwards. I'm afraid. So let me press Control D again. Unproject all again. Now it's a lot slower, and there's plenty of mass because of the complexity of the shapes. So we have to walk through it and manually fix them, and probably resculpt that part. So not all, but a few jags and a few edges. So it's about 2 million polygons now. Okay, project all. Okay, so I decided to not raise the polygon count. This is the original mesh, because the original mesh has so many jags and geometrical issues, that twists and overlaps of geometry, that even if I go higher, I cannot really get the details I'm looking for, because these details, many of them are through issues of overlapping. Okay, so that visually they're coming back. So right now this is kept about 2 million, and this to be sculpted or refined, and additional parts could be done. But this is a good topology, and now it's time to fix this areas. Okay, so we are at the highest level. Solo mode, we are at the highest level, subdivision level 5, 2 million polygons. So I'll use the smooth brush and the smooth relax. So I'm holding shift and then let it go. And if you see these black polygons here and there when I'm moving around, for example, or here, those are usually maybe polygons viewed from an angle in ZBrush and not necessary issues. But when you see these spikes coming through, that's an issue for sure. So we're starting at the highest subdivision level and try to fix things from here and moving around and just clean it up. It's important to move things around. It's important to check those. Again, the original mesh had quite a few issues, and we want to be careful. I'm using a low intensity smoothing brush, okay, because otherwise you don't have the time to stop the process and let the brush go. So there's this issue, So overlaps, weird shapes could be cleaned up. Yeah, so now it's coming clean here. And be careful, I'm not moving any resolution levels until I'm fixed with one level. Okay, so I'm rotating around, checking if there's any other error on other sides. I do fix it on this level before switching. Okay, it can cause confusion, and honestly it can cause a little bit of few errors. That little spike is there because you have to go through meticulously all the levels, all the layers, and then the results will be consistent. So what you smooth here, that should be in the same amount in the lower level. So now I think it's fine. Here we also have a few errors, but not crazy. So I'm walking Shift D down, and then I'm checking errors at the lower level and see if I can make changes. And I'm not going back until, not higher, not lower, until this is reviewed. So here it's also need to be clean. Okay, because these layers are linked in data. So if you make a drastic change on one, it doesn't mean that every others will follow. They're linked, but again, the data is just working together. So you have to walk like a ladder. Shift D, I'm now making corrections on the lower level, making those checks. And these polygons are not problematic. If so, when you rotate, you will still see them. It's just they're just watched and looked from a very steep angle. This is why they're looking black. So don't get nervous about it. These are not holes. But there's a spike. Maybe this spike is too much. And this is such a complex shape. It even if you hand made a manual retypo, it doesn't mean it will be just that good. So we have one more. I see no major errors here. Shift D, I see no major errors here. So now I can safely D walk up, D walk up, and D walk up. This is at the highest now. And at the highest, I will just use these peaks. There's an overlap here. Still. A little bit of an error. Again, I'm using this shift and release. Okay, so that's now basically the model. We have 2 million. If there's major sculpting, we can still do the sculpting on this level. This is why I left it here, and it could be subdivided further. This project not requires an extra subdivision right now, and that also increases the size. Okay, and check the UV. So if we walk down Shift E, we have the UV coordinates, and we can load them up. So morph UV. And here we go with the morphs. That's clean. And yeah, this UV, by the way, this could be fixed. This little thing could be fixed if the model is exported to another application, and then you can import it back and copy and paste the UVs. That's a different topic, but that's not that big of a deal to fix it. And till that, you can still work fine within ZBrush. All right, now let us go back to a higher level and use a texture map and import something. This UV checker, and I will clone this texture and flip horizontal and load it back. And there we go. So this is it. Let me check this. It's not as distorted. It looks fairly neat here and there. Okay. The file size is a lot bigger if you save it with texture on. So I usually like to texture off and texture off everywhere and save the file this way. All right. Thank you for your time. I hope you found some interesting tips and an insight in tweaking UV Master and ZRemesher and projection with masking and other stuff. It's more intermediate ZBrush, but I hope you enjoyed. So thank you and see you next time. Goodbye.